It's the Score North Twin Show.
All right, Score North Extra Innings, Declan Goff here. Twins wrap up a road series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They take the series. They win 13-6. Declan Goff here on Extra Innings. Hit the like button, subscribe button. This is the Score North Twin Show YouTube feed. Best way to keep this train moving is hit the like button and subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star review too on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate everyone that has jumped on board here. We've pushed this thing into one of the bigger podcasts on YouTube for Minnesota Twins content, so appreciate you guys. David Festa made his Major League debut today for the Twins. He got recalled after Chris Paddock went on the IL. All things considered, solid start for David Festa, top 100 prospect. Festa goes 5 innings, allows 7 hits, 5 runs, strikes out a couple batters. To be honest, probably has a better outing and a better line if Manuel Margot gets that fly ball on the bottom of the 4th inning that he kind of elected to drop for some reason. I noticed that both Corey Provis and Glenn Perkins on the television broadcast touched on the fact that if Margot hustles that out a little bit more, that inning probably doesn't balloon to 4 runs for Arizona. Regardless, though, a solid showing. Fastball, slider, changeup mix. That fastball topped up at about 96.9, just a 3-pitch mix for him. He's only really been throwing about 80 pitches at a time with the St. Paul Saints, so even with the big lead that he was able to get early, it wasn't like David Festa was going to go out there and throw 100 pitches by any means, but a solid debut. He'll get another turn in the rotation when the Twins get off this road trip. We'll have more on that in just a bit when the Twins play the Tigers next week at Target Field, so Twins fans will be able to see David Festa at their home ballpark. But yeah, a series win for the Twins. They beat up on Arizona. I know in Game 1 they had a rally that fell short, but last 2 days, big games for the offense. The offense continues to really impress, beat up on these bad teams, which is good. Arizona's kind of obviously on this NLC World Series hangover, and the Twins continue to beat up on a lot of bad teams. They will play Seattle here. We'll get into that in just a bit. But David Festa, solid outing. You'd like to see David Festa, get some more strikeouts for sure. I get that, but at the end of the day, he's making his Major League debut. He's got fans. He's got his family there. Festa, probably the first Twins top 100 pitching prospect that's been homegrown. I think I did some minor research on this. Since Steven Gonsalves, remember him, who got called up in 2018. He was kind of similar to Festa, where he was, low top 100 prospect, a good guy that struck out a lot of arms, but never materialized anything. I actually think David Festa probably has a better chance of having a better career than Steven Gonsalves certainly did. I think he's still pitching in the Rockies or Dodgers organization in the minor leagues. But outside of Gonsalves, Jose Barrios in 2016 was another big arm. But regardless, you'd like what you saw from David Festa today. We'll see if he's able to have another strong start for the Twins when they play the Tigers. When you consider what Simeon Woods Richardson has been able to give this team after he took Louis Varland's spot in the rotation. He's been arguably one of their best starting pitchers in baseball since. They've been carefully monitoring him. He's not going deep into games necessarily. He's not throwing 100-plus pitches. They've been very careful with him, but he's been a very effective starter, and both, hopefully, Woods Richardson and Festa can kind of inject some much-needed juice into this starting rotation, which has just kind of been a roller coaster ride. I think Pablo Lopez hopefully has turned his season around, but he hasn't gotten off to a good start. Joe Ryan's been mostly pretty consistent. Bailey Ober's been mostly pretty good outside of a couple rough outings, so we'll see what we get from David Festa the next time out. Offensively, actually, let's get to the Carlos Correa thing, I should say. I got my notes here. Let's look at the Carlos Correa thing. So Correa did leave the game. He took a pitch off his wrist. Pretty scary play. When you see a player pretty much leave immediately, there's definitely a little bit of a gasp. He left immediately, took a ball off the wrist. X-rays came back. They were negative. It was diagnosed, though, as a right wrist contusion for Carlos Correa. So good news is the X-rays were negative. There was no, structure of bone damage, which is good. We'll still see what the case is for Correa going forward. Does he play this weekend? Does he still go on the IL? I mean, with the X-rays being negative, I think that's probably less likely. But still, Carlos Correa has been on an absolute heater. He's kind of the superstar of this team. He's the Batman and Robin with him and Royce Lewis. You can't lose Carlos Correa for an extended period of time. Correa's been swinging one of the best bats in the league. He is a candidate to win Player of the Month. Any type of games without Carlos Correa, you're going to be in a tough spot. And even with the Twins playing good baseball as of late, but still trying to catch Cleveland in the standings, still trying to maintain wild card positioning, losing Correa would not be really good. So hopefully with those X-rays being negative on that wrist, it is good news going forward. If Correa was out for an extended period of time, probably looking at Willie Castro playing a lot more of shortstop. I know internally they actually really liked what they saw from Willie when he filled in for Correa earlier this year when Correa went on the IL with the oblique oblique injury. But you'd probably see more of Willie Castro. I don't think that would mean Brooks Lee would be called up in the event Correa would go on the injured list. There's a lot of log jams right now in the infield, and you're able to just kind of put Willie Castro into that spot, who's also been swinging a very good bat and has made a lot better strides defensively than I think one anticipated. So I don't think it's an IL stint. We'll hear what Rocco says. We'll see what Correa's maybe feeling tomorrow. Probably if you're a betting person, Correa's not in the starting lineup when they open a series against Seattle this weekend in Seattle. But the good news is the X-rays are negative. It's still scary, obviously, when you see your star player take a ball off a wrist. So hopefully Carlos Correa is indeed okay. He's been phenomenal defensively. I mean, when you watch him play shortstop, that's one of those things that you just kind of sometimes take for granted. And he's obviously a World Series winner. He's a prolific postseason player. He's a very polarizing guy, as we've talked about in the podcast, or if any other fan of a baseball team, they probably don't like Carlos Correa because he was one of the, central figureheads of the whole cheating scandal with the Houston Astros. But hopefully Correa is indeed okay. We'll wait and see what happens there. But hopefully Correa doesn't have to go on the injured list. Twins need Carlos Correa in the lineup, and he's played almost every single game. Just a few, maybe just like one or two scheduled off days for him since he came off the injured list the first time this year. So we'll see what happens with Correa. On the offensive front, though, Byron Buxton remains red hot. Dude is just punishing baseballs. Trevor Plouffe, who joins us every Tuesday on this podcast feed and YouTube channel, he talked about him a ton on last Tuesday's episode. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. But he kind of mentioned the fact that maybe Byron Buxton's finally just blocking out all the noise and just finally being the hitter that he's supposed to be. Now, over the last 2 weeks, he's hitting .345. He has no PS over 1,000. He parked another baseball over the seats today. Still playing very, above average, stellar defense in center field, which is the most important thing. He was a full-time DH last year, so Twins fans weren't able to see him play center. And over the last 2 weeks, this is exactly what everyone thought Buxton could be, right? Second overall pick in the draft, has shown glimpses of when he's on the field. He's at an MVP level. I've kind of diminished, those expectations. And to be honest, I don't think that this guy that's hitting .345 over the last 2 weeks is sustainable over the course of a year. But if he can be a productive player that can run into some baseballs every once in a while and get on hot streaks like this and still be able to play center field for the most part, man, you got to take it every chance you can get. And I know Buxton might not ever live up to his potential, but over these last 2 weeks against these teams like Colorado and Oakland, etc., he's been one of their best players. A lot of guys in this offense have been clicking at the plate, Byron being one of them. Twins need Byron Buxton healthy. He had that awkward little slip in center field. I know we're kind of at that point where anytime a guy like Buxton goes down and you're like, you kind of gasp for a little bit, looked like he was obviously okay, got back up, threw the ball in. But Byron Buxton over the last 2 weeks having a hell of a ripper at the plate on this road trip specifically. I saw Bob Nightingale tweet out those stats too. He's just punishing baseballs, which is a good sign. So yeah, go check out that interview too with Trevor Plouffe if you haven't. But good highlights. Some good highlights here on this road trip at least the series against Arizona with obviously Byron Buxton playing very well. David Festa made his debut, which was impressive. A lot of good things happening for the Twins right now. They will get the Mariners to close out this road trip. They'll get Seattle for 3 games, which actually I'm very much looking forward to. It's one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. The Twins roughed them up pretty good last month, which was very impressive. It was kind of like their first real big series win against a good team during the middle of that hot streak they had in May. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to tame that pitching staff like they did again. It's going to be a good test, but after playing Oakland and Colorado, Arizona's clearly not the same team they were that went to the World Series last year. It'll be nice for the Twins to actually play a legit competition in the Seattle Mariners. I know there's some fans that are just kind of waiting for them to play some good teams. It's been hard to catch Cleveland, who can't stop winning baseball games, I should say. So the fact that the Twins will play a really good team in Seattle, I think that's a good test for them after beating up and being bullies against some of the worst teams in baseball. So yeah, then they'll return home too for a week plus before hitting the road to finish the first half of the schedule. They have Detroit and Houston next week at Target Field. Houston's also playing a lot better baseball. So divisional foe next week after this series concludes against Seattle. Then they get a red-hot Houston Astros team. This is the halfway point too. So congratulations, pour one out. The season is officially halfway through for your Minnesota Twins. It's been a roller coaster ride, starting 6-13, having some big winning streaks, having some other losing streaks mixed into there. The division, still a question mark for the Twins to catch. It's definitely going to be tough for them to catch Cleveland, who remains probably one of the best teams in baseball. I know a lot of fans are always perplexed by how Cleveland does this. Believe me, I'm kind of one of them. But when you looked at what they've been able to do this year, you got to tip your cap to them. I mean, they've literally been one of the best teams in baseball offensively. They have probably the best bullpen in the league. Their starting pitching isn't as prominent as it usually is over the last 10 years, where they have won division titles. But it's going to be tough to catch Cleveland. We'll see what happens in the second half. Still a lot of games left, so halfway through it here in your Major League Baseball season. But Twins punished the Arizona Diamondbacks. You saw David Festa have a nice showing in his Major League debut. Hopefully Carlos Correa is indeed okay. We'll see if this offense can remain red hot. Hit that like button, hit subscribe button. Tomorrow we'll do a Score North Twin show. It'll be me and Sports Dad Judd Zolgad. I think we'll maybe do, what's working, what's not at the halfway point of this season. What things have been positives, what things have been negatives. We're now halfway through. We love to talk about sample sizes in baseball. We loved not jumping the gun on things being too early, but now 81 games played. Enough of the sample here. What kind of ball club do the Twins have? What maybe reinforcements could they add at the MLB trade deadline would be important too. That's at the end of next month. So a lot of good things on the horizon. So appreciate everyone that has listened and watched the Score North Twin Show YouTube channel. We brought this podcast back. Extra Innings lives on periodically throughout road trips. I'm at the majority of home games, so you can expect content from there as well. So if you haven't checked that out, please do hit the like button, subscribe button, help grow on this channel. Appreciate everyone that has again watched and listened to this. Baseball is one of our favorite sports here, and the Twins, even though they are outside of taking over the AL Central right now, still remain in firm position to be a playoff team, and we're excited to talk about it. And hopefully you guys can eventually watch these games. I'm as fresh as anyone else. I have been doing crazy things to try to watch Twins games this year, so I understand everyone's pain trying to go through that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This is Score North, Extra Innings. My name's Declan Goff. We'll be talking at you tomorrow.